Yo, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel. In this video we're going to do our first oil change on the M45. Ever since I installed the newer motor on here, I haven't done the oil change. It just hit 4,500 on the gauge cluster. It only shows like 1,000, but that's because I had removed the battery to turn the 370Z on because the 370Z died. So I had to remove it and of course erase the miles that I had on there. But right now it is at about 4,500. I think previously it was like at 3,500, right now it's from like 1,000. So it is right there. I usually do it between 4,000 to 5,000 miles, somewhere between that range. Now I have been checking the car pretty much daily, if I'm being honest with you. Whenever I jump in, it only takes me like less than 3 minutes just to check the oil. At about 1,500 miles, the car would drop down at least like to that halfway on the dipstick. So yeah, the top hole and the bottom hole, it would go like halfway at about 1,500 miles. I did install a catch can as well. I'll show you guys that right now. There is some oil in there, and honestly, like every time I drive the car, it usually fills up to like right at that bottom section, like about this much. So it is working, and I feel like that's where most of my oil consumption is coming from. You're supposed to replace these every like 30,000 miles, and the engine had about 59,000 miles, so maybe they weren't replaced before. But I'll put these on there, see if it helps. And then I wouldn't be able to notice that if I didn't have my oil catch can, but the oil catch can is filling up with oil every single time I drive it. So it accumulates over time, and it does add up pretty close to what the oil or what the engine is actually consuming. I made a video on this if you guys are interested in getting one. Got it from Amazon. I don't remember, but I think it was about 30 bucks. So let's dump this out really quick. So right there you can see that it has quite a bit. Yeah, that's a lot right there. And that's like, I would say within like a week it already has that much in there. So it's mainly coming from the valve stems in that area. So I feel like if I replace those and they start working properly, then I shouldn't have this much oil consumption. But we'll see what happens after, you know, we replace those, because I do have those brand new ones that I just installed on the other engine, so they should be functioning properly. But yeah, as you guys can see, the oil catch can is working and is functioning. If you guys want to get it, it does catch the oil, and you just got to take it out every single time that it fills up. Let's go ahead and do the oil change. I have my oil filter right here. This is K&N. They had a deal at like AutoZone, so I just got this one that came with the oil and the filter, HP1008. This one has a hex at the top, so you can remove it and install it easy. And then we have 5W30. I'm using the extended performance one, which is this one right here. So we're gonna use that. And I have another one somewhere else. I just gotta find it. I think I've only done an oil change on this car one other time when I barely purchased the car. So when I purchased the car, you know, I only ran it for a bit. And then I noticed a bunch of issues with like oil consumption, so then I decided to replace the engine. So this is technically like my second time doing oil change on this car. But it's very easy. There's the 14 mil right there that you got to remove, and then you have the filter right there. A little trick that I use to remove this, if you guys don't have like a special tool, if you have sandpaper laying around, you can use this to loosen it. Just put it on there. It'll make it a lot easier to remove the filter. As you can see, I'm already moving it. So that's a cool trick if you guys want to remove your oil filter without purchasing a tool, if you just have some sandpaper. But there you go. And take this out. Alright, there you go. Gonna let that drain out for a bit, and then I'm gonna tilt the car so it can be more like slanted this way, so more oil can come out. And then we're gonna go ahead and remove the oil filter after this technically drains out for the most part. Alright, so now we're throwing the oil in there. If you put the oil or the gallon sideways like this, it makes it a lot easier to drop it in. And then I can leave it on there like that. It'll all come out. And then right here we have the oil filter installed now, and the plug over there. Just check to make sure nothing's leaking. You should replace the ring that goes on there, but I usually use it a few times and I never have a leak. But you can always order them in advance if you ever need them. But so far everything's good. A little bit of an update on the car. I know that previously it had a power steering leak, and I'm happy to say that there are no more leaks when it comes to the power steering. It doesn't go low anymore, anything like that. It doesn't leave any spills. So that has been completely fixed with the rack that I installed. So I'm really happy about that. And then I did replace the oil pan, and after sealing it back up, no issues at all with it leaking either. If you look around it, there's like no leaks or nothing coming down. I have never seen a drop of oil on this car on the floor. So I know that everything is sealed up properly, no issues with that. The only issue that I'm really having with the power steering is, well, when I turn the wheel all the way and lock it out, it makes this weird like screeching sound. I'm not sure why it's doing that. I'm not sure if like the power steering pump is messed up, but other than that, it works perfectly fine. There's no issues with it at all. When it comes to the performance, it works fine. It just makes a noise when I lock it out. Alright, so I went ahead and removed the hose right here. I just pushed it to the side over there. You can already see that there's quite a bit of oil on there, especially when I removed it. There was some oil on the hose. I was dripping down. You can kind of see it like right there on the end. Try to move it over. Right there, you can see the oil. So yeah, there's for sure oil going through there. Let's go ahead and remove this one. Just need a 23 mil. Alright, there you guys go. Remove this one as well. Put in the new one already. And then we have the other one installed as well. Right there. So everything's ready to go. I'll go ahead and check it out. Or I'll keep track to see if there's any reduction in oil consumption or oil going to the catch can, to see if that helps out. So we'll be able to tell the difference. I think I'll check at about 500 miles to see where it's at. If not, maybe a little bit less. I'll check every once in a while to see if it's gotten better or if it's gotten worse or it's maybe the same. But here are the old ones right here. So you can see there's quite a bit of oil on the bottom. But yeah, everything's good. And then for the oil, I think it's at a pretty good level. Yeah, it's like right above. Right now the car's slanted, so it's reading a little bit higher than it should be. But I think it should be good where it's at right now. Alright guys, so we're going to go ahead and end the video right there. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update on the M45, like what's going on, if I've had any issues. And honestly, when I initially installed it, I only had one issue, and it was with the throttle body. The throttle body for some reason wasn't working on the motor that I purchased, and I replaced it with mine. Worked perfectly fine. It might have been that it was just dirty, but I never tested it out. Like once I installed it and it worked, I left it alone. This new motor that I picked up, I purchased it from eBay because I had a few of you guys asking me where I got it from. Got it from eBay. It was a seller that I think is based off of Quebec, which I believe is like Canada based, somewhere around that area. I might be wrong on that. But I found it on eBay. They had a lot of good reviews. That's why I went with them. There was a few other different areas that were selling motors as well, but they had a few reviews that were kind of concerning, so I kind of like backed away from them, and that's why I went with this specific company. So I just really went over the reviews. If they had a lot of them and they were all 5 stars, and you know, that's the one I'm going to really go with based off of like price and stuff like that. But this motor is actually from Japan. It's imported from Japan, brought into the States, it shipped to my area. And it had about 59,000 miles when I purchased it, and so far I haven't had any issues with it. Like I mentioned, it's have a little bit of oil consumption, but I feel like with the M45, it's a common thing that's going to happen with these cars. Like you can't really avoid it. Eventually it's going to have oil consumption. And for those people that say that they don't have oil consumption, I feel like they do have oil consumption, but they don't notice it because maybe it's very small or minimal, or they don't push their car. Now, the M45, I'm constantly pushing it over 80 miles per hour because I'm always doing highway miles. You know, in the States over here where I live in the US, and the highway, I think it's like the max 75 and sometimes reaching 80 miles per hour. But I even go over that sometimes, going over 80 miles per hour. I'm pushing the car, and that's when I really feel like I start to notice the oil consumption. If I'm driving around town or around the city, I don't really ever notice like oil consumption. It's when you're pushing the car, pushing it to limits, that's when I start to notice it. So I feel like if there's specific people that say that they don't have oil consumption, they most likely don't push the car, and if they push it, they will most likely see it. I just feel like with these cars, it's just very, very common, and there's like no way that you're not gonna have oil consumption on an M45. But that's pretty much it. The only differences that I saw with the JDM engine versus, well, the Japan engine versus like the US one is the transmission dipstick is a little bit different. So you can't actually interchange it, because I tried. It has like a little clip on it that doesn't allow you to switch it over to like the US model or vice versa. And also the harness, I don't know if it's for specific years, but on the Japanese motor, so for the injectors, as a separate harness, and then with the Japan model, the harness is together. So that's one thing that I noticed. It didn't change anything when it comes to how it fits. It fit perfectly fine, no issues with that at all. It's just when it had a connection, when it doesn't. I actually have the other harness that came undamaged, so I can use that as well if I need to. But other than that, it's perfectly fine to have it there. And then I have the other motor there as well. I do plan on rebuilding it in the future, making like a little project so I can learn how to rebuild a motor, and then doing that in the future so I have an extra motor, because there was nothing really wrong with my motor that I had previously. It just had really bad oil consumption, which could be fixed by fixing the valve stems, by fixing O-rings, gaskets that are old, you know, things like that. So that's something that I want to do with that motor. I do plan on keeping it. Unless somebody gives me an offer for it that, you know, I can't refuse, and I'll do it, because there's nothing really wrong with it. It just has oil consumption, but it's really bad. You would have to get a rebuild. But yeah, that's an update on the M45. I'm really, really happy with the car, how it's performing, like no issues. There's a few things I want to do to it. I want to fix the check engine. I do want to fix the check engine light, because I have a light for that right now on the headers, because it doesn't have any cats. So I want to fix that. And then I did order the spray already to re-clear the headlights. That's gonna be next. And maybe like a few cheap things that I can make it look a little bit better. But other than that, if you guys haven't noticed, the collection has been growing in the car with my Hot Wheels. I actually got a few cool ones. I picked up this Porsche right here, the Speed Machines. This one's really sick. And then I actually found a 370Z that I purchased a long time ago. The box is a little messed up, but 370Z is in good condition. So I'm really happy about this one. This is really sick. I also picked up the Lamborghini and also the 4GT. Huge fan of the 4GT. It's one of like the best Fords in my opinion. But other than that, it's growing. You know, I'm picking up a few classics here and there. I picked up the Corvette collection as well. But it's growing, you know, it looks pretty sick. I'm happy with the result, how it's looking, and I want to continue to grow it. Right now it's been really hard to find Hot Wheels for some reason. I've been looking for the Godzilla one that just came out, the white one. Can't find it. I might have to go through a friend to get that one, but I'm usually pretty patient when it comes to Hot Wheels. Like if I go to the store and I find one cool, if I don't, then I'll just wait for the next time. I'm actually fixing a few things on the 370Z right now as well, so there's going to be a few videos on that. I want to clean it up, that way I can go ahead and start taking to shows again, because it's been a while. I haven't really been out, and I want to take the 370Z out again. It's just been such a long time since I've really taken it out to a show and participated in something. So that's the goal this year as well, to try to participate again in some shows and clean up the car, make it look a little bit cleaner and different. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.